check. Good morning, everybody. Come on down, have a seat, say hello to someone you do not know. My name is Alex Kolaitzi. I am the Director of Music here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Miami, and welcome to our Focus on Abortion service this morning. If you're joining us for the first time and you're unsure of what these photos are, they are a traveling exhibit. You will hear more about it during the service today. We encourage you after the service to take a walk around and read the stories of the people depicted in the photos. Good morning to everybody joining us on the live stream this morning. Please feel free to grab a candle or a chalice that you can light with us when we light the chalice a little later in our service. Everyone, our first hymnal today, our soul singing hymn today, is in the gray hymnal number 170. We are a gentle, angry people. We will sing verses 1, 2, 3, and 6, and the words will be projected right over my shoulder. Please feel free to stand in body or spirit and join in the singing. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, loving people, and we are singing for our lives. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Yay, welcome everyone to our multi-platform space here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Miami. As a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association, we bring a liberal religious voice to the great city of Miami, a city we also acknowledge sits on the traditional land of the Tequesta, Miccosukee tribe of Indians of Florida, and the Seminole tribe of Florida. My name is Jane Thayer. I'm your worship associate for today. My pronouns are she, her. I am a white cisgender woman wearing a green polka dot sleeveless dress that shows off my tattoos. I got dark hair and little pigtails. And that's my visual description. Up here on the chancel with me is Joseph Toledo, our pianist. Yay, Alex Kolaitzi is right here, our music director. And we will later hear from Judy Homer, who has led this initiative to bring the Focus on Abortion exhibit here and imagined how we can all share in its message today. UU Miami is a community of brave, curious, and compassionate thinkers and doers. Currently, our Sunday services are guided by the worship committee, whose purpose is to support and strengthen our shared ministry. And while these services are led by voices from the Miami community and the Unitarian Universalist faith, We are also committed to nurturing and uplifting the spiritual leadership of individuals in our own congregation. So we invite you to learn more about us. You can find us on social media at UUC Miami, or you can email communications@uumiami.org. All of that's up on the screen, or you can scan that QR code for more information. And if you've attended our services a few times, consider becoming a member. Please talk to anyone with one of these yellow lanyards, and we'd love to share more information with you. And that's the welcome portion of this morning. Now, it is our tradition to light a chalice at the beginning of our services. Today, our chalice lighting words are by Reverend Yami J. Yandel. We light this flame to ignite the sacred power of justice. We light this flame so that it may be a beacon of hope in moments of uncertainty, fear, anxiety, and the unknown. We light this flame and are emboldened by its blaze, knowing our strength is rooted in the diverse ways we answer the call to love. I've mentioned a few times how lucky I feel from up here to hear Alex singing, to hear Joseph playing, to be able to contemplate life's joys and sorrows and community. And today I feel so lucky to be part of this service that Judy Homer and the Social Justice Committee has spent so much time imagining and preparing for. So thank you, Judy. Thank you, Social Justice Committee. I'd like to share a poem to set the stage to make my contribution. It's written by Caridad Moro-Granlier, the new poet laureate of Miami-Dade County. And when I reached out to Caridad to ask about sharing her poem, I got this lovely response that I wanted to share because it all connects. You won't believe this, Caridad says, but the first poetry workshop I ever took was at UU Miami. The wonderful Michael Malone ran them out of the church, our poet laureate, yes. And I found a lot of warmth and support and peacocks there. I even walked the labyrinth there, again guided by the kind and gentle Michael. All this to say, yes, I would be honored to have you read the poem as part of such an important service. So much of my poetic life is filled with serendipity, connections that began weaving themselves years ago, but that come to light through art and poetry just like this. So thank you for reminding me yet again that poetry, and I'll add art and stories, will always bring us together. So this poem speaks to me about the long and complicated commitment of parenthood. It starkly contrasts these two troubling ideas. One, the idea that the layered and personal decision to become a parent can even be legislated, number one. And number two, the appalling dehumanization of those who seek abortions by even debating the legality and morality of their choice, or even more frighteningly, having their choices stripped away entirely. So, for my 21-year-old son who calls me on the day Roe v. Wade is overturned, by Caridad Moro Granlier. It is not the ding of a text that comes in, but the trill of his ringtone. Landslide, favorite song I refashioned into a lullaby, every note a link on the chain of nights that were ours alone. The childhood score I sang on repeat that he no longer asks for. I don't hesitate to answer. Though we've been locked in battle over boundaries and definitions, a ping-pong match of contronyms, how fast means firmly affixed, not just swift in flight. How buckle means fasten, as well as collapse. How bound means motionless, but also to propel forward. His way, my way, the way I'm not ready to part ways. Yet, on this dirge of a day, the taut rope between us slackens, and he calls to ask if I'm okay. I hear in his voice he knows I'm not. My rage fueled by an arsenal of sorrow. Mama, he says, I'm so sorry. Mama, an old word for a younger version of each of us. And there is still enough of them in us to survive the inevitable cleave. We will hold together even after we split apart.
We will now take this time to sing the children and youth out to their RE services. Jessica is in the back and ready to receive you. You know the deal. Please sing along. The words are projected right there. May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace, as you go your way in peace.
So, hello. Now is the moment that we get a moment together to share joys and sorrows. I'm going to invite anyone who wants to come up and share any joy or concern that's on their heart. please say your name, and we are live streaming, so folks who are tuning in through the live stream can share their joys and sorrows in the chat. I welcome you to come up, and if you are not interested in sharing vocally here, know that as a community, we hold your joys and your sorrows together, spoken or unspoken.
Good morning, I'm Bob Jacober, been a long-term member. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to UU Miami Tribe. I came here Sunday out of bed for Kat's Delicious Coffee Bride. Exploring Buddha's teaching is great fun for me, though I'm not going to sit under a Bodhi tree. As the world trembles and falls apart, living like Buddha peacefully is a much-needed art. To bring joy to our tribe, I declare, is my part. At our UU Miami, let Big Perfuncles band and contribute to each other whenever we can. By living Buddha's teachings, we can all work as one to accomplish work that's needed here as part of tribal fun.
Good morning. My name is Bonnie Petticord, and my joy is I am here. I've missed you all so much, but I am now more than halfway through my radiation treatments. Minor side effects. I feel stronger than I did a week ago. I'm still able to walk and drive, still a little wobbly because they took a big chunk out of my leg and sewed it onto my face. Oh, thank you. Can you hear me now? Oh, yeah. So I'm a little wobbly, minor side effects, but feeling stronger, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you. And thank you for all your healing energy and prayers. They work. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andy Arthur. I have a sorrow to share. My friend Christina passed away this week. We've been friends since we went to college together, and the thing that gets me, I mean, we were Paso buddies, we knew each other in college, we fell apart, and then we came back together at this conference that we would go to every year that was for work, and she was just a delightful human. And the thing that's really getting to me right now is just the fact that I still have to keep going. Like, I still have deadlines, I still have obligations, I still have stuff I have to do here, because I am your co-chair of your board, and it's just sort of like, it's rough, so. Thank you for letting me share that. Thanks.
Hey, I could just simply say I'm happy and happy to share my joy, but I'm happy for the existence of the UU Church. If my 76-year-old memory serves me correctly, I believe when I had an interfaith course at Temple Israel as a 12-year-old, I'm pretty sure we came here, and it was at this moment that I said to myself, and have been saying ever since, I wish I could take away organized religion and accept universal faith and belief in each other. God is within me and within all of you, and it doesn't matter what religion. More particularly, I'm so happy to be here today and with one of my dearest friends ever, and to support another dear friend, Judy Homer, And what better way to celebrate my birthday but than to be back here, right?
Thank you, thank you.
That's just something I do. I buy them to give away. But if anybody wants them, I have several sizes with me, and you can donate to the church however you like.
Hold on, hold on.
Howdy, folks. Charles Bishop here. You can decide if this is a joy or a concern. Hurricane. Hurricane. And what it has done to the coast of Florida, and how kind of quickly we get over that, huh? We just kind of set it aside a little bit. The terror that we would have that in our homes and close to us, what a horrible thing. Hurricanes. And so taking actions that pursue our life and that get us on with what we do. And so Friday night, Miami Hurricane and I went up to the ball game. We went up and saw a football game. And we took young ones. Competition in sports, faster, stronger, higher, I think is what they say. And so to take young ones to see those who are running and throwing and catching and tackling and enjoying in the competition, what a wonderful thing, and what happiness that is to see a hurricane who's able to take young ones and to share. God, all it is, that tradition, that big colossal thing that there is, both before and during and then after. And so the marvel of life. Let's remember the power that stands behind that name, hurricane.
Hello, I'm Luigi Ferrer. I have a joy to share. My niece will be receiving her doctorate in psychology this Friday, and I'm really looking forward to spending some time with my sister and her during the week, so that's my joy. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for all of the joys that were spoken here and all of the sorrows that were spoken here. We hold you in our hearts, and for those who did not share and speak their joys and sorrow, we hold you as well. So now, let's make an offering. Segue. On the screen behind me, you will find a QR code, and you can scan this code with your photo app and your smartphone, and it'll take you to the UU Miami donation page. If you're in the sanctuary, Luigi's going to bring around our offering baskets. You can donate that way as well. Today is the last day now for Split the Plate with Safe Schools South Florida. Your offering will benefit UU Miami as well as Safe Schools South Florida, which is their mission is to create safer schools where all students can learn and thrive regardless of their sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, or that of their parents or guardians. So now, let's give a gift to sustain this place where we work, we share, and we thrive.
speakers to come up on stage now, if you will. We are going to move along. We have several readings. It's so wonderful to see some people here that I haven't seen in a long time, and good friends who have come to share this experience. I'm Judy Homer, a member of the Social Justice Committee of this congregation. Our committee decided to bring a traveling exhibit to the walls of our sanctuary. It's about abortion. Photojournalist Roslyn Banish has written a book called Focus on Abortion, Americans Tell Their Stories. I have to get that right. Focus on Abortion, Americans Share Their Stories. 62 individuals appear in her book, each of whom shares personal details about their lives and their experiences with abortion. They come from diverse ethnic and socioeconomic backgrounds, religions, generations, and different regions of our country. Fact: 1 in 4 women in America has had an abortion during her reproductive years. Ms. Banish selected 19 individuals from her book, along with their first-person narratives, to create what she calls a traveling exhibit to encourage civil discourse. Civil discourse, wow. That is something that we don't experience much these days in politics. The Focus on Abortion exhibit is currently traveling the country. It has been hosted by colleges and universities, houses of worship, many Unitarian Universalist congregations, and other organizations. We have 5 storytellers on our stage this morning. They are going to speak in the voices of people from Roslyn Banish's book. 4 of them are members of our congregation, the other a granddaughter. Each story has been edited for the sake of brevity. Our first storyteller is Janice MacArthur.
Thank you. Good morning. Hello. My name is Heather Booth. I'm the first picture over there, way on that side. I am an abortion organizer. I was fortunate to be born into a loving family, believing that everyone should be treated with dignity and respect, and that we have an obligation to make this a better world and stand up to injustice. In the Jewish faith, it is called Tikkun Olam, repair the world. Now, before I go back to the 1960s, pre-Roe v. Wade, let me just ask you, any of you who go home today and end up having a conversation with a loved one who tells you she is 8 weeks pregnant, 6 weeks is the abortion ban today, what would you do? How would you help? Let's go back. In the 1960s, I attended the University of Chicago. Against the backdrop of an emerging women's consciousness movement, the sister of a friend of mine became pregnant. She was a graduate student, did not want to have a baby, and was becoming desperate. She asked me if I could help. I found a great doctor. His name was Dr. T.R.M. Howard, a civil rights champion in Mississippi, until his name appeared on the Klan death list. He then opened up a clinic on 63rd Street in Chicago. That was my first successful referral. Before long, word spread and Jane was born. I lived in the dormitory, and when people needing abortion help phoned looking for me, they were told to ask for Jane because it was a nondescript name. I made arrangements with Dr. Howard for how much it would cost. I came to understand what more was involved. How do we counsel and support the person in advance and make sure that women are well cared for? An abortion cost $500 at that time, a great deal of money. We set up a scholarship fund and negotiated prices. This went on for years until, unfortunately, Dr. Howard passed away. I searched and found another doctor. His name was Mike. Another nondescript name, huh? By 1968, I was married, expecting my first child, trying to get into graduate school. That's when I recruited volunteers to help me. They became the Jane Service. By the time I left the Jane Service, there were many women calling for help, and Dr. Mike told us he couldn't do it alone. Dr. Mike had confidence in the Jane women and taught them how to perform abortions. They then found out that Dr. Mike wasn't a doctor. Nevertheless, the Jane women performed about 11,000 successful abortions during that time. In 1972, 7 women from Jane were arrested. Abortion laws were making their way through the Supreme Court. The cases against the Jane women were not prosecuted, and then Roe v. Wade was finally decided on January 22, 1973. The women who volunteered at Jane's Service were fearless, courageous, dedicated, and very concerned about the lives of the women they were supporting. If we organize, we can repair the world. The people who make change are ordinary people who do extraordinary things. I'd like to now introduce Carly Pulaski with our next reader, as our next reader.
Good morning, my name is Carly Pulaski. Today I will be sharing the story of Shiloh Modisette. You can find Shiloh over to your left. In college, I dated a guy off and on for about a year. 3 weeks after we broke up, I found out I was pregnant. I knew that if I had stayed pregnant, I wouldn't graduate from college. I thought if I had a baby, my life would be over. I wasn't emotionally mature enough to have a baby. I felt fear and shame. At first, the only person I spoke with about my situation was a good friend. I didn't want anyone else to know. After I decided to have an abortion, I called the guy involved. Probably he offered to help, but I don't remember the specifics of our conversation, mostly because I didn't want there to be much of a conversation. I knew what I needed to do. I didn't have the $400 to pay for it. They needed to be paid in full, in advance. I was able to pay $100 that day. My ex-boyfriend promised to pay the rest. He didn't. I borrowed money from a friend and paid her back over time. When I'd had the conversation with my mom about getting birth control, she told me about her abortion. She said, "Please, just don't get pregnant." When she got pregnant, it was pre-Roe v. Wade. I didn't talk to her when I got pregnant. My mom and I didn't have a great relationship, and now I regret not having that conversation with her. Limiting access to healthcare in general, and abortion in particular, has made me want to share my abortion story. Since I told my story and started talking more about having an abortion, a lot of folks have come to me and said, "Me too." I don't know if my mother had that experience. Unfortunately, I didn't get to ask her. She passed away suddenly from a heart attack at age 64. I had 2 coming out stories to tell my mother. Coming out about being queer, which I had previously shared without a problem, and coming out about having an abortion, which was scary. I felt more able to talk about being gay. I wanted to be a parent my whole life. And I don't think I was ready until Shelby and I had got together. Now, Shelby and I are married and we have kids. One way people relate to each other is by sharing our stories and being honest and vulnerable when we can. It's taking the risk of putting yourself out there. I wish I had allowed my mom to love me at the time of my abortion. When I find myself talking with friends, I want them to know that it's worth the risk of sharing as to holding in all the pain and fear. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sydney, and I'm speaking for Blair Alt. My first abortion was 7 years ago when I was 22. I didn't know how to process it. A year later, I decided to write my abortion story for the story time at a theater company called Bootown, where people send in stories and actors read them to an audience at a neighborhood bar in Houston. Nobody knew that it was my story. Up until that point, my abortion was still a secret. I hadn't told anybody outside of the people who were involved. My first abortion, I told my parents and a bunch of people slowly but surely, one by one. My best friend helped me find a clinic. The first time I got pregnant, I waited a long time before finding out. It was within a few weeks of Texas's 20-week ban. The people at the clinic wanted me to get into the clinic the next day for the surgical procedure. In the clinic, there was a sign asking to keep children out of the waiting room. I guess they didn't want women to feel triggered or guilty while they were there. They gave me a sedative, but before it knocked me out, I remember being in a line of women in a hallway, waiting to speak with a nurse. She was very nice, but matter-of-fact in explaining the procedure to me. There was no shaming. It's funny because I wrote another story after my second abortion, which happened about a year and a half after the first one. I was ashamed of the second one. I didn't want to admit it to my parents or even my best friend. I kept the second one under wraps. The story of the second abortion came out just a couple of years ago when I went to the Moth Story Slam, an NPR storytelling monthly event. But this time, I told my own story. I was really angry because Texas had recently passed a law that would make it more difficult to get an abortion. I said, look, I've had 2 abortions and I'm afraid of talking about it. That is not okay. When I told my story on the Moth, that's when I felt like I was coming out of the abortion closet. I've had 2. They've happened. It's done. I got pretty open about talking about it, still was reluctant to tell my parents. I felt a lot of shame. Up until then, my support team had been me and my ex-boyfriend, then my therapist, and my cat. I'm a government and economics teacher at a public charter school. In my 6 years of teaching, one student has found my radio clip on my YouTube. After listening to it, she told me that she was proud that I was her teacher. Looking back to when I shared my abortion story, I remember feeling free as I was leaving the radio station and getting into my car. I wanted to talk about it. I would like to be in a world where I get to talk about it. Abortion is normal. I wish we could just get over it and just move forward with how this stuff happens and get rid of the shame and stigma. Now that I've been a high school teacher, I know what it takes to have a child, to be emotionally present and healthy. I enjoy teaching. I don't think I would be able to both teach and have my own child. Maybe it's okay if I don't have kids, because I'm still interacting with kids. I'm still able to be nurturing and be a coach and do all the things that I want out of being a parent. I asked my mom how she would feel if I didn't have children. She said, Blair, do what you want. She seemed proud of me. That's when I was like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna have 3 cats. Maybe if I change my mind, I will adopt. I can do that because I'm not going to contribute to the population problem.
and may this be a wonderful morning for each of you. I am telling the story of John O'Brien. I was born in 1965 in Dublin, Ireland. My mother stopped working as a child, to have children, as is our custom, and I have 3 brothers. My mother banned from the dining room table talk of politics, sex, and religion, and I have spent my life talking about those 3 things. She also told me that whatever you can do for women, you should do. My parents raised us as Catholics. Through our Catholic tradition, I was taught the importance of living a life that tries to put into practice the principles of equality, fairness, and love. As I grew up, I saw the Catholic hierarchy controlling people's rights, in my view, to limit their reproductive capacities. After Irish independence, the Catholic Church promoted censorship. And in 1983, the Irish Constitution was amended with their influence to protect and defend the right to life of the unborn. Meanwhile, what we saw was women who would go to extreme measures to obtain a legal abortion, including sometimes traveling to England. I began working with the Family Planning Association, which offered contraception. I wrote advice columns. At one point, I was convicted for the illegal sale of a condom. Eventually, we changed the condom law, which I'm very proud of. Ruth Riddick helped me to see that supporting abortion rights is the social justice my parents brought me up with. And what I was experiencing was playing out in other countries, Lithuania, Poland, and others. That's when I met Catholics for Choice. The Catholic hierarchy doesn't get up in church anymore and preach that contraception is wrong. They lobby behind the scenes, using antiquated opinions of church doctors of the 18th century with rudimentary microscopes, through which they thought they saw a fetus that resembled a fully formed human. But now, consider, please, the teachings of St. Augustine, Thomas Aquinas, 2 church fathers who did not hold that a fetus in the early stages of development had the same quality as a born person. That's very important. When a bishop or priest gets up and says abortion is murder, I'm sure they genuinely believe it. But a lot of Catholics don't. Even though it's a serious thing to end a life in a uterus. We are Catholics in good faith. Look carefully at what the Catholic hierarchy teaches, at the implications of your own decisions, and follow your conscience. A doctor once asked me, Catholics for choice? Isn't that an oxymoron? Catholic women use birth control, have abortions at the same rates as other faiths or no faith. Last time I looked, there was a lot of gay, lesbian, transgender Catholics. Last time I looked, a lot of Catholics were divorced. So don't tell me that our worldview is not shared by a majority of Catholics in the world. As Catholics for Choice, we give voice to those Catholics who think and believe and act differently than the hierarchy within our church, a hierarchy that is out of step with what the majority of people are struggling with. Thank you. Beverly Cardona.
My name is Beverly Cardona, and I'm speaking for Jennifer Aubrey, who you can find on the wall to my left. I think my parents wanted me to be a good homemaker. Certainly, they didn't want me having sex before marriage. That being said, I was the oldest virgin I knew. I was 19, which even in those times was pretty old. Sex was never discussed in our house growing up. I grew up in New Canaan, Connecticut, an upper middle class family. I'm one of 5 children. I never wanted for a thing. I went to Miss Porter's school, which today is still one of the only girls' boarding schools. At that time, they had tea pouring classes. This was 1966 to 1969. My mother, unbeknownst to me, had signed me up to go to a cotillion and be a debutante. I didn't go. At Boston University, I became radicalized, is I guess the word appropriate. A lot of demonstrating about the Vietnam War. After being maced one too many times in Harvard Square, I dropped out and moved to Taos, New Mexico, which to my parents was dismay. I was 18 or 19. I lived with a boyfriend in Taos for a couple of years. My abortion story happened in New York City. It was probably 1978 or 79. After I left Taos for the East Coast, I got pregnant by a guy I didn't have any serious relationship with. I mean, this was certainly not a man I was going to spend the rest of my life with. And I knew that having a baby would drastically change my life. There was no question what I was going to do. Getting an abortion in New York wasn't difficult. I remember sitting in the hospital waiting room with a few other women and thinking, it's a pretty heavy scene to be going through. Afterward, I went out with friends. I remember thinking, I just had an abortion. I just did something that was life-changing. I never felt guilty. I was simply glad that I had had the choice to have my life go on. Around the time of my abortion, I met the man that was important enough to me that I would marry him. We divorced after having 3 sons when my youngest was 5. He's now 27. It was important to me to raise my 3 sons to be empathetic and compassionate, and to always feel their mate was as important as they were. Their wives have said to me how polite, wonderful, and compassionate my sons are. With the Me Too movement, I think it's wrong to just focus on girls and women. I think we need to focus on boys and how we raise boys and men. Last Thanksgiving, I had my sons and their wives over for dinner. I asked them what they thought about my participation in this book project. I told them, I'm thinking of not doing this because I don't have a story to tell. My youngest son was supportive. He said, Mom, that's your story. It was life-changing. He knows that this is an important issue for me. When he was 12, he traveled to DC with me for the pro-choice rally. Even at that age, he knew that if women had no choice, we would not be living in a democracy. I think it's important to take the stigma away from abortion by showing that it's not just teenagers who get abortions. It's all walks of life. I've never believed that abortion is used as a form of birth control. I think abortion is a serious, thoughtful decision. After all, mistakes happen. That doesn't mean you have to make the whole rest of your life a mistake by having an unwanted child. Nobody wants to have an abortion. It's just something that, if you have to, it should be there to happen. If this is a democracy, we should have the right to abortion, and it certainly cannot be a decision made by men sitting in courtrooms. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Now I would like to invite Carol Klomfer to come to the pulpit. She is a very active member of our Social Justice Committee. Carol, may I take a moment and have everybody sit up front so we can watch you and listen to you? Why don't we take seats up front?
Judy has given me the honor of updating you on Amendment 4 that will appear on our ballot in November, and the Yes on 4 campaign. I'm going to read you the amendment. Amendment to limit government interference with abortion. It consists of one sentence and one clarification. No law shall prohibit, penalize, delay, or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's health care provider. That's it. And the clarifying statement ensures that the amendment will not nullify or interfere with the Florida requirement for parental notification or guardian notification if a minor has an abortion. In summary, Yes on 4 is to ensure that Floridians, not politicians, are able to decide what is best for their lives and their bodies. We know why the amendment is imperative right now in Florida, because there is the extreme, cruel, 6-week abortion ban in force since last May. Here are a few things to know about the Yes on 4 campaign. Number one, the Yes on 4 campaign is nonpartisan. It's not Republican or Democrat. It reflects the will of most Floridians based on poll after poll. It is a citizen-led ballot initiative based on thousands of voter petitions from people all across the state, including us. And it is led by a coalition of 200 organizations and a long list of healthcare providers. Now here's my update. It's not a done deal. It is not a done deal. It's not a done deal. There is a 60% requirement for the yes vote. That's a high bar. And there is fierce opposition out there putting up multiple barriers to passage from a few powerful groups. Here's what we can do. Well, number one, as you all know, check and recheck your voter registration. Make sure you and everyone you know realize that the deadline for registration in Florida is a week from Monday, October 7. Have a solid plan to vote. But beyond that, and I think the reason we're here today, we need to encourage and engage our own personal network of friends, family, and neighbor to understand the issue and to vote for Amendment 4. Overcoming some fear and stepping outside our comfort zone. This exhibit, this poignant exhibit, and the touching program that you have just heard are a conversation starter that we need to approach the people in our lives. Yes on 4. Yes on 4.
Everyone, our closing. What? Oh, the reflections first? It's my fault, you guys. Please listen to Joseph's reflection. No one is alone from Into the Woods. Our closing hymn today is in the Teal hymnal, number 1017, Building a New Way. We will sing all of the verses. They will be projected for you on the screen. Please feel free to stand in body or spirit and join in the singing. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling strong every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to start with thank yous to our professional staff. We have a very steadfast and it's hard to give as much thanks as our staff needs. They're here making sure things are running. We've got Jairo, who sends out all of our communications. Cheryl is our business manager, who goes above and beyond. Kat is our Sunday services assistant, setting things up in the kitchen. And thank you, John, for greeting everyone today. Thank you, Jessica, for guiding our youth. Derek, who's running our live stream. Joseph, thank you for accompanying our hymns and providing such wonderful music. Alex, thank you for your leadership of our hymns and your musical direction. And thank you, Judy and the Social Justice Committee, for your leadership in the service today. And finally, thank all of you for joining us in this service. Thank you. Next week, I'll be speaking. Next Sunday is October 6th. It's a year from the day before the violence of October 7th. It's a year of witnessing pain and devastation in Gaza and Israel. And I'm going to share the action of immediate witness that was voted on at the Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly, calling for a stop to indiscriminate violence in Gaza. I'll share voices and insights from activists and leaders that I admire so we can better engage in the deep listening required for the heart-opening radical love of being a witness. There's lunch today. After the service, we suggest a $5 donation, but if this is your first time joining us today, please join in our community lunch and stay and chat and eat. Speaking of lunch, if you want to help provide lunch, we are looking for folks to prepare meals. You can prepare a whole meal or a part of a meal, grab a friend and do it together. There's a link in the Sunday Connections where you can sign up for a Sunday coming up. Do you have an announcement? Okay, come on up.
Okay, good news, the plumber has been here and things are fixed. However, this bathroom nearest still needs to be cleaned. Don't go in there. Go over to the school one.
And that's a little hint of how supportive and important our staff and volunteers are. Anyway, thank you, Jenna. And Jenna, did you do lunch today? Thank you, Jenna, for providing lunch. As you can see up on the screen, our congregational survey has reopened. If you have not done the survey yet, there is a chance. You can tell us what you love about UU Miami, share your ideas, take the survey in order to share your voice. This is the main avenue for doing that. And similar, it closes tomorrow, yeah. So similar to donations, you can scan the QR code with your phone app, photo app. Do it tonight. Go home, make a cup of tea, and get out your survey. If you need assistance in filling it out, or you want to, if you need assistance, please ask. We can do it on the phone. We can do anything to help you fill it out. Your voice matters. Let's plan our future together. Coming up, our intergenerational game night and potluck has been rescheduled to Friday, October 4th. Bring a plate of your favorite dish and a friendly, competitive spirit for fun community gathering led by Jessica, our Director of Religious Exploration for Children and Youth. There's a social justice committee meeting next week at 12:45 in the Emerson Room. There's a worship committee meeting on Thursday, October 10th at 6:30 on Zoom. And of course, you will find all of this information in your weekly email newsletter. If you need help signing up for that, again, please ask someone with a lanyard. And thank you for your attention and sharing in this moment of learning about the events that we have going on. Just as we light the chalice, we also extinguish it. We extinguish this flame and take with us its sacred power of justice. We extinguish this flame, our beacon of hope, understanding the work we must do. In moments of uncertainty, fear, anxiety, and the unknown, we remember its flame and are emboldened by its blaze. Knowing our strength is rooted in the diverse ways we answer the call to love. I invite you now to stand and greet folks that you don't know. Let us deepen our connections in this beloved community.